Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge into fascinating topics, extract the most important insights, and really give you a shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today, we're tackling something incredibly close to home for so many of us, or maybe for someone you love dearly. Just imagine that sheer joy of movement, the freedom of a morning walk where every step feels effortless, greeting neighbors with a light heart, just feeling completely at ease in your own body. Now let that image gradually fade, replaced by those nagging aches, a persistent stiffness, and that all too familiar dreaded phrase whispered with a sigh of resignation. It's just part of getting older.
It is, isn't it? It's a narrative that's just so deeply woven into our conventional understanding of aging. A kind of quiet acceptance, really, that physical discomfort and limitations are, well, an inevitable companion to advancing years. What's truly fascinating here, based on the sources we've looked at, is how often we accept these symptoms as, just an unavoidable part of life, without ever questioning if there's a deeper underlying cause we're consistently overlooking. This deep dive really compels us to reevaluate that deeply ingrained assumption. It suggests that maybe many of us are needlessly suffering.
That's precisely the question our sources are forcing us to ask. What if this common wisdom is actually missing a crucial foundational piece of the puzzle? What if chronic joint pain, particularly for those over 70, isn't an unavoidable destiny, but rather a huge indicator of a deeper underlying imbalance in your body? Like a profound cry for help that's simply gone unheard. Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into a powerful set of sources today that really challenge everything you might think about aging, chronic pain, and a nutrient that incredibly has been hiding in plain sight for decades. And before we go much further, get ready, because our sources are about to reveal three pivotal truths that might fundamentally change how you view your health and, importantly, how you approach pain management. First, you're going to discover that vitamin D isn't actually a vitamin at all. It's a powerful hormone that orchestrates a huge number of bodily functions. Second, you'll learn that the normal vitamin D levels your doctor tells you about, they're likely nowhere near optimal for truly vibrant health and pain-free living. And third, we'll expose a systemic reason why this crucial, potentially life-changing information has been overlooked and underemphasized by mainstream medicine for, well, decades.
Indeed. And the mission of this deep dive really is to extract these most important insights, give you that shortcut to understanding this critical information, and hopefully leave you feeling informed and potentially empowered about your own health journey. It's about shifting from just passive acceptance to proactive understanding.
Right, so to kick things off and really bring this all to life, let me introduce you to Robert. Robert is 72 years old, and for most of his life, he absolutely loved his morning routine. Picture him, a man of routine and quiet joy, heading out through his neighborhood park, breathing in the crisp morning air, feeling the warmth of the sun on his face, greeting his neighbors with a genuine smile and a friendly wave. He was a man who gardened, who loved to play with his grandkids, who really took pride in his independence. His life was active, joyful, connected. But then, these insidious changes began. Over a period of about 2 years, that picture-perfect routine started to shatter, slowly, painfully. Those once joyful walks, they became less of a pleasure and more of a pilgrimage through a landscape of escalating agony. He started experiencing these shooting pains that would jolt through his body with every step, deep aching joints that felt constantly inflamed, and a burning sensation. It originated stubbornly in his lower back, radiating down through his hips, into his knees, and finally settling in his ankles. He vividly described every single step as feeling like he was walking on broken glass, the sharp shards piercing him with each attempt to move. The pain wasn't just, a fleeting discomfort. It was a constant, grinding, debilitating presence that shadowed his every waking moment.
That imagery, walking on broken glass, it's incredibly vivid, isn't it? Really conveys the level of suffering that can become a daily reality. And this gradual deterioration, often starting in one area and then spreading its tendrils of discomfort throughout the body, is unfortunately a very common experience for many older adults. Our sources describe it as this insidious erosion of their quality of life, often dismissed or, well, misattributed.
It's a tragedy unfolding daily. And when Robert, in despair, finally went to his doctor, a well-meaning but, as our sources highlight, conventionally trained physician, she looked at his x-rays, shook her head sympathetically, and delivered a verdict that, frankly, millions of seniors hear every single day. She told him very gently, "Robert, you have arthritis, and at your age, chronic pain is just something you'll have to learn to live with. We can't cure it, but here's a prescription for pain medication that might help take the edge off." It was a devastating verdict. Essentially a life sentence to a future of pain. The impact on Robert was immense. He wasn't just losing his physical capabilities, he was losing his independence, his confidence, his very zest for life. He started withdrawing from his favorite activities, from his social circle, his face growing etched with this permanent weariness. He was tragically starting to accept this as his new normal. But here's the intriguing question for you, our listener. What if Robert's story didn't end there? What if there was a simple, powerful twist that could make you question everything you've been told about aging and joint pain?
That's the powerful invitation of this deep dive, isn't it? Challenging those accepted narratives and asking, is there truly more to this story, a different path to consider? Our sources suggest there overwhelmingly is.
Indeed. And that more begins with a moment born of sheer love and desperation. Robert's condition continued its agonizing decline, until one particularly difficult morning, the pain in his knees and lower back was so severe that he couldn't even get out of bed without the strained, tearful help of his wife, Sarah. She had been watching her once active, joyful husband deteriorate before her eyes, seeing him lose not just his physical capabilities, but his joy, his confidence, his very zest for life. As Sarah helped Robert to the bathroom that morning, tears streaming down both her faces, tears of frustration, of helplessness, of fear, she made a pivotal decision. She refused to accept his fate. She committed to researching every possible solution, exploring every single avenue, fueled by an unwavering love and a desperate hope to find a different path for the man she adored.
That moment of determined refusal, that sheer grit in the face of conventional wisdom and despair, that's often where true breakthroughs begin. Our sources highlight that this kind of personal quest is frequently necessary because the medical system often overlooks fundamental issues. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it raises a really important question. How can something so widespread, affecting what our sources call an epidemic proportion of older adults with chronic pain up to 80%, how can that be so consistently overlooked, especially by mainstream medical practice for over 2 decades, despite being documented?
It truly is astounding. A medical blind spot of immense proportions. Sarah, fueled by that fierce determination, spent countless late-night internet research sessions, fueled by endless cups of coffee, sifting through mountains of data, digging deep into medical journals and scientific studies. What she found truly shocked her to the core. Study after study from reputable institutions around the globe revealed a startling truth. Vitamin D deficiency wasn't just common among seniors with chronic pain. It was, as you mentioned, an epidemic. These studies consistently showed it affecting an astonishing up to 80% of older adults experiencing these debilitating issues. Yet this crucial connection, this glaringly obvious link, was being completely overlooked by the mainstream medical establishment, despite being documented in medical literature for over 2 decades. Think about that for a moment. Decades of well-established, documented scientific evidence, and yet for millions like Robert, it remained a completely missed link, leaving them to suffer needlessly. And what Sarah also discovered during her deep dive was a fundamental misconception about vitamin D itself, a detail that's key to understanding its profound impact. It isn't actually a vitamin at all in the traditional sense. It's a powerful fat-soluble prohormone. This distinction is critical because it means vitamin D isn't just something you consume to aid other processes. It's a foundational regulatory molecule, directly signaling cells throughout your body. And this hormone plays an absolutely multifaceted and intricate role, regulating over 200 different processes in the body, touching virtually every system you can imagine.
This really highlights the intricate and interconnected balance within our bodies. When one key regulator, like vitamin D, is out of sync, the repercussions are far more widespread than just a single symptom. It can cascade into a myriad of seemingly unrelated issues across multiple physiological systems. This makes accurate diagnosis incredibly challenging if we're not looking at the root cause, but rather just treating individual symptoms. It's not a single-purpose nutrient. It's more like a master orchestrator of cellular communication.
Precisely. And for those dealing with chronic pain and declining mobility, its key functions are absolutely crucial. First, it's essential for calcium absorption in the gut, which is foundational for strong bones and teeth. Without adequate vitamin D, even if you consume enough calcium, your body just can't properly use it. Second, it directly contributes to bone formation and remodeling, meaning it helps build and maintain a strong bone structure, constantly repairing the micro-damage of daily life. Third, it supports proper muscle function, playing a role in everything from muscle contraction and nerve signaling to overall muscle strength and coordination, which directly impacts stability and movement. But here's where it gets really interesting and directly relevant for the context of chronic pain. It plays a critical role in the reduction of inflammation that causes joint discomfort and mobility problems. This isn't just about bones, it's about a foundational regulatory system in your body that directly impacts how you feel, how you move, your cognitive clarity, your immune response, and your overall well-being. As Sarah's research progressed, her frustration grew. She discovered that the normal vitamin D levels, accepted by most conventional labs and doctors, often defined as anything above, say, 20 or 30 ng/ml, are actually nowhere near optimal. Not for effectively reducing inflammation, supporting robust immune function, and promoting long-term joint health. This is a huge revelation for so many of us, creating a silent health crisis. It implies that millions of seniors might be walking around right now, diligently told by their doctors that their vitamin D levels are fine, while their bodies are, in the deeper biochemical sense, literally crying out for more of this vital nutrient to function optimally. It's a silent, unseen struggle perpetuated by, well, outdated guidelines.
That raises an incredibly important question, doesn't it? If normal on a lab report doesn't actually translate to optimal for thriving health, how do we empower ourselves to understand what our body truly needs for vitality? Not just to avoid the most severe acute deficiency diseases, but to really thrive. This distinction between merely preventing disease and actively promoting optimal function is critical because it speaks to a standard of health beyond merely the absence of overt pathology. It's about living well, not just avoiding illness.
It truly is. So, armed with this knowledge, Sarah insisted that Robert get his vitamin D level tested, but not just any test. She specifically asked for the more comprehensive 25-hydroxyvitamin D test. That's 25-OHD or calcidiol. This specific test is crucial because it actually measures your body's stored vitamin D, giving a much clearer picture of your long-term status and reserves, rather than just the circulating levels, which can fluctuate more. The results for Robert were, in her words, shocking. His level was barely 18 ng/ml, not just clinically deficient, but dangerously low, teetering on the edge of severe physiological impairment. Suddenly, with that number in hand, everything made chilling sense for Robert and for Sarah. All those years of unexplained pains, the gradual decline in his physical abilities, the emotional toll, the profound loss of joy, it all connected, like pieces of a tragic puzzle, to this one critically overlooked factor.
Right. And this connection illustrates a profound physiological truth that our sources really emphasize. When vitamin D levels are that low, the body enters a kind of crisis mode. It prioritizes maintaining essential calcium levels in your blood, which are vital for nerve transmission, muscle contraction. It resorts to a desperate measure. The parathyroid glands, sensing insufficient calcium, overcompensate by releasing parathyroid hormone, or PTH. This hormone then signals the bones to release their stored calcium into the bloodstream, a process called bone resorption. This constant mining of calcium doesn't just weaken the skeleton, making bones brittle and prone to fracture. It triggers a chronic, low-grade inflammatory state throughout the body. Imagine a constant, low-level alarm ringing, putting your immune system on high alert and causing systemic wear and tear.
And the consequences are just far-reaching and debilitating. This isn't just about weaker bones. This chronic inflammatory cascade then manifests as the very symptoms Robert was experiencing. The persistent, deep-seated joint pain that flared with every movement, the unexplained muscle weakness and cramps that made him unsteady, the general stiffness and discomfort that turned simple acts like dressing or rising from a chair into monumental efforts, all those things that far too many seniors are told to just accept as normal aging. It's not just a symptom, it's a systemic cry for help, that the body is in disarray, actively struggling. But the impact of critically low vitamin D goes even broader than just bones and joints. Our sources explain that vitamin D deficiency doesn't just affect your bones and joints. It wreaks havoc on virtually every system in your body, from the tip of your head to the soles of your feet. We're talking about a compromised immune system, leaving you far more vulnerable to infections, colds, and flu, and even impacting autoimmune conditions. It severely impacts cardiovascular health, contributing to issues like hypertension, arterial stiffness, and increased risk of heart disease. It drains your energy levels, leading to chronic fatigue, making even simple tasks feel monumental, because vitamin D is involved in mitochondrial function, the powerhouses of your cells. And crucially, it profoundly affects your mood and cognitive function, which explains why Robert had been feeling not just physically terrible, but emotionally depleted, struggling with a pervasive sense of depression and anxiety that seemed to come out of nowhere. This shows just how intricately interconnected our body systems truly are, and how one vital hormone can influence so much.
What's even more concerning, though, if we look at the mainstream medical approach that Robert encountered, is that our sources describe it as not just inadequate, it's backwards. Instead of addressing the fundamental vitamin D deficiency that is causing the systemic inflammation and pain, doctors are typically prescribing anti-inflammatory medications. And here's the deeply problematic twist. These medications, like corticosteroids, proton pump inhibitors, even some NSAIDs, can actually interfere with your body's ability to absorb, activate, and utilize vitamin D. For instance, PPIs can reduce the stomach acid needed to absorb fat-soluble vitamins, while corticosteroids can impair the liver and kidney enzymes responsible for converting vitamin D into its active form. It's a real problem.
Yet that, our sources argue, creates a vicious cycle. It keeps people sick, dependent, and suffering, perpetually chasing symptom relief without ever addressing the underlying cause. Think about this for a moment. How much money have you spent on pain medications, on countless doctor visits, on physical therapy sessions, on chiropractic adjustments, and other palliative treatments for joint discomfort over the past few years? How many beloved activities have you given up? How many family gatherings have you missed? How much pure joy and spontaneity has been stolen from your life because of chronic pain that might be completely preventable, or at least dramatically reduced with proper vitamin D levels? This isn't just about physical pain. It's about the gradual, heartbreaking erosion of a fulfilling, active life, all while an easily correctable solution remains in the shadows. But here's where Robert's story takes that incredible, life-affirming twist. His transformation began almost immediately, a testament to the body's remarkable capacity for healing when given what it truly needs. Within just 2 weeks of starting a proper, targeted vitamin D supplementation protocol, he began to notice undeniable changes. And importantly, this wasn't the minimal 400 IU dose often found in generic multivitamins that does little more than prevent acute deficiency. This was a therapeutic dose of 5,000 IU daily of vitamin D3. And that D3 part is absolutely crucial. It's cholecalciferol, the most bioavailable form that your body actually recognizes, synthesizes from sunlight, and can use effectively to kickstart those vital physiological processes.
Right. The emphasis on D3 and a truly therapeutic dose is absolutely key, isn't it? It underscores that not all supplementation is created equal, and that a targeted, adequate approach, moving beyond mere prevention of severe deficiency, is necessary to achieve genuine, noticeable results in the body's complex systems. The cellular signaling just needs a certain threshold to be met.
It makes all the difference. The first thing Robert noticed within those initial 2 weeks wasn't necessarily a complete reduction in his joint pain, interestingly enough. It was a significant, palpable increase in his energy levels, a lifting of the persistent mental fog that had been clouding his thoughts and draining his motivation for months, and just a general sense of well-being he hadn't experienced in years. He described a renewed clarity, a quiet optimism that had long been absent. This speaks volumes for the broader impact of vitamin D beyond just joint health, affecting everything from brain function to cellular vitality. Then, by the 4th week, something truly remarkable and emotionally profound happened. Robert woke up one morning and realized that the constant nagging, grinding ache in his lower back, which had been his unwelcome companion for years, was gone, just gone. He sat up slowly, cautiously, expecting the familiar jolt of pain, but it simply wasn't there. It felt as if someone had simply flipped a switch and turned off a pain signal that had tormented him, shaping his every movement and thought. He actually laughed, a deep, joyful laugh that Sarah hadn't heard in years.
Gone, just gone. That phrase really captures the profound relief, doesn't it? That almost miraculous feeling when chronic pain finally lifts. It speaks volumes to how accustomed people become to the burden of their pain, only realizing its full weight and the true extent of their suffering once that burden is unexpectedly lifted. It's a return to a state they had almost forgotten was possible.
It's an incredible, almost unbelievable relief. But the real miracle came in the 6th week. Robert, emboldened by his improving back, decided to test his newfound mobility. He ventured out for a short walk around the block, something he hadn't even attempted, let alone completed without excruciating pain, in over a year. And not only did he complete the walk without pain, he found himself actually enjoying the crisp air, the sights of his neighborhood, the simple act of movement. He returned feeling strong, stable, and confident in his movements for the first time in ages, almost exuberant. Now, I know what many of you might be thinking. This sounds almost too good to be true, too simple to be real. A single supplement couldn't possibly achieve such a dramatic reversal. But the science, as our sources emphatically state, and which we've thoroughly reviewed, well, it doesn't lie. Robert's experience, while deeply personal and emotionally resonant, is not an isolated incident or some kind of anomaly that defies scientific explanation. Our source is very clear on this. Study after study confirms what Robert experienced firsthand. The scientific evidence compellingly backs up this transformative power of adequate vitamin D levels, painting a picture that mainstream medicine has largely ignored. For instance, a groundbreaking study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism involving hundreds of seniors found that participants with optimal vitamin D levels, those well above the normal minimum, had significantly less joint pain, better mobility, and improved overall quality of life. This was a stark contrast to those with deficient levels, who reported higher pain scores and greater functional limitations, highlighting a clear, undeniable correlation between this vital nutrient and functional well-being. The correlation wasn't just a slight difference, it was profound.
Yes, and what's truly fascinating here is how multiple independent studies from really respected institutions corroborate this direct link between a vitamin D status and musculoskeletal health and pain. Yet the information just struggles to permeate into routine clinical practice and reach the very people who could benefit most from it. It's not some fringe theory, it's established, peer-reviewed science that needs wider recognition and application.
You're absolutely right, and the evidence continues to mount with compelling force. Another powerful study, this one conducted by researchers at the prestigious Mayo Clinic, revealed a staggering statistic. A full 93% of patients with chronic muscle pain who sought treatment at their facility were found to be critically vitamin D deficient. But here's the truly remarkable and actionable part. When their vitamin D levels were corrected through proper targeted supplementation, an astonishing 87% experienced significant improvement in their symptoms within just 3 months. Think about that, nearly 9 out of 10 people finding substantial relief simply by addressing a fundamental, easily correctable deficiency. This isn't just symptom management, it's a profound physiological restoration. But perhaps most compelling of all is the research that reaches even deeper into the very biology of aging itself, connecting vitamin D to our cellular lifespan. Our sources highlight groundbreaking research showing that vitamin D deficiency accelerates the aging process itself. It does this by causing your telomeres, those protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes that essentially determine how fast your cells age and divide, to shorten more rapidly. When telomeres become too short, cells can no longer divide, leading to cellular senescence, tissue dysfunction, and all the hallmarks of aging. So what does this all mean for you? It means that correcting a vitamin D deficiency doesn't just relieve pain, it actually slows down cellular aging and helps you maintain vitality and function longer at a fundamental biological level than would otherwise be possible. This goes far beyond just symptom management. It's about fundamental cellular health, affecting longevity and quality of life at its core.
That connection to telomere health is particularly significant because it elevates vitamin D from a mere nutrient to a key factor in fundamental longevity and cellular resilience. It underscores its profound systemic impact not just on the alleviation of pain, but on the very process of aging itself, influencing how gracefully and functionally our cells can continue to operate over time. This makes it an anti-aging and vitality factor, not just a pain reliever.
Robert's story, as it continued to unfold over the months, became even more incredible, demonstrating the full spectrum of vitamin D's power. As his vitamin D levels normalized and stabilized, he didn't just regain his ability to walk without pain, he actually became more active and energetic than he had been in his 60s. The transformation was complete and holistic. He joyfully took up hiking again, exploring local trails with a vigor he thought was long gone. He joined a local tennis league, something he hadn't even considered in over a decade. He even convinced Sarah to take ballroom dancing lessons with him, bringing a vibrant new energy into their marriage. His life was not just back to normal, it was enhanced, enriched, and filled with a renewed sense of possibility.
That really demonstrates the comprehensive nature of improved health when a fundamental deficiency is addressed, doesn't it? The body doesn't merely return to a baseline of not being sick. It can often exceed previous levels of function and vitality, allowing for a profound reclamation of life that goes beyond just symptom absence. It's a powerful illustration of the body's latent healing potential.
And what was his conventionally trained doctor's reaction to this amazing transformation? To seeing a patient reverse years of pain and decline through a simple nutrient. Our sources say she was amazed by it, truly astounded by the radical change in Robert's health and demeanor. She admitted, quite candidly, that she had never been taught about the connection between vitamin D and pain management in medical school. This highlights one of the most frustrating yet critical aspects of our current healthcare system. Doctors are rigorously trained to diagnose and treat symptoms with pharmaceuticals and procedures, not necessarily to identify and correct the underlying nutritional and lifestyle deficiencies that often cause those symptoms in the first place. It's a symptom-centric model rather than a holistic root cause model, leaving many fundamental solutions unexplored. So if the science is so clear and the transformations are so dramatic and well documented, why is this knowledge about vitamin D and chronic pain so often suppressed? or at the very least not widely known and integrated into standard medical practice. Our sources dive deep into the systemic obstacles and what they controversially term a conspiracy of silence. First, there's the sheer ubiquity of the deficiency itself. Vitamin D deficiency is practically universal, especially for those living in northern latitudes or spending most of their time indoors. This widespread prevalence is a modern phenomenon, a consequence of our indoor-centric lifestyles, where natural sunlight exposure, the primary way our bodies produce vitamin D, is severely limited.
Right. This omnipresence of the deficiency creates a significant blind spot. It's so common that it's often normalized, mistaken for just a natural part of modern life or aging, rather than an alarming health crisis. This raises an important question. Given the widespread prevalence of deficiency and the increasing use of medications that interact with vitamin D, should routine, comprehensive vitamin D monitoring become a standard part of patient care? Not just for the elderly, but for many adults. The oversight seems not just significant, but almost negligent in its potential impact on public health.
It's a critical point, and it gets even more complicated because as we age, our bodies become less efficient at naturally producing and utilizing vitamin D. Our skin, with its reduced elasticity and thickness, becomes less efficient at converting sunlight into pre-vitamin D3, meaning we need significantly more sun exposure to produce the same amount as a younger person. Furthermore, our kidneys, which play a crucial role in activating vitamin D by converting it into its hormonal form, calcitriol, via the enzyme 1-alpha hydroxylase, become less effective with age. On top of that, many incredibly common medications actually deplete our vitamin D stores, without us ever being warned about this critical side effect. We're talking about widely prescribed drugs like proton pump inhibitors, PPIs, for heartburn, which can reduce the stomach acid needed to absorb fat-soluble vitamins, like D-stat. The statins for cholesterol can interfere with the liver's ability to produce cholesterol, which is a precursor to vitamin D synthesis, and also impact its metabolism. Corticosteroids for inflammation, incredibly, actually impair the body's ability to absorb and activate vitamin D, creating a cruel paradox. And even some blood pressure medications can negatively impact vitamin D levels. These widely used drugs can significantly reduce your body's ability to maintain adequate vitamin D levels, yet doctors almost never mention this connection or suggest monitoring vitamin D status when prescribing them. It's a huge systemic gap in patient education. And what our sources term the conspiracy, though they clarify this isn't necessarily a deliberate plot, but rather a confluence of systemic factors, goes even deeper when you look at the recommended daily allowance, or RDA, for vitamin D. The minimal 600-800 IU recommended daily allowance for seniors was established merely to prevent the most severe deficiency diseases like rickets and osteomalacia, not to promote optimal health or pain-free living. These RDAs are developed by committees using very conservative estimates, often prioritizing the lowest possible intake to avoid overt disease, rather than the higher therapeutic levels needed for true vitality and peak function. This means that if you're just following official guidelines, you might avoid outright deficiency diseases, but you likely won't provide the levels needed for truly pain-free joints, strong muscles, robust immune function, and vibrant overall health. You're simply in a state of not acutely sick, which is, far from optimal well.
Exactly. This distinction between a minimal requirement to prevent gross deficiency and an optimal level for thriving is absolutely crucial, yet so often misunderstood or entirely missed by the public and often by practitioners too. It's the profound difference between merely existing and truly flourishing. Our sources really underscore that by focusing solely on preventing rare, severe diseases, we miss the opportunity to prevent widespread, chronic conditions that diminish quality of life for millions.
Precisely. And leading vitamin D researchers, our sources tell us, those who have dedicated their lives to studying this hormone, consistently argue that most adults need at least 2,000, 4,000 IU daily, just for maintenance to achieve and sustain adequate blood levels. And for those who are already significantly deficient, like Robert was, they may need even higher therapeutic doses for several months, often between 5,000 and 10,000 IU daily, to restore optimal status and saturate their body's stores. But here's what our sources highlight as a deeply problematic aspect of this situation. This vital information, these insights into optimal levels and the widespread nature of deficiency, is rarely shared with the patients who need it most. It remains largely confined to specialized research circles. And why is that? Our sources lay out a clear, albeit infuriating, financial incentive argument. There's simply no money in it for anyone except the patient, because vitamin D3 is inexpensive, widely available, and cannot be patented. Unlike a newly developed pharmaceutical drug, there's no opportunity for a pharmaceutical company to make billions of dollars from a patented compound. This means there's virtually no financial incentive for them to promote its use, or to fund the massive, expensive clinical trials that would undeniably prove its effectiveness for chronic pain management to the broader medical community. The entire medical system, our sources argue, is largely designed to treat disease, not prevent it. Doctors are often rewarded for prescribing medications and ordering procedures, which often carry high profit margins, not for identifying and correcting nutritional deficiencies that could prevent the need for those expensive, ongoing interventions in the first place. It's a system that, through its very design, inadvertently perpetuates the problem of chronic illness. So Robert's successful journey taught him a profound lesson that extended far beyond simply popping a pill. He realized the key is not just taking any vitamin D supplement, it's taking the right form at the right dose with the right cofactors at the right time. This isn't a passive act, it's a holistic approach to optimization. He learned, for instance, that vitamin D3, or cholecalciferol, is far superior to vitamin D2, or cholecalciferol, for effectively raising and maintaining blood levels. D3 is the natural form our bodies produce from sunlight and is metabolized more efficiently. D2, often used in fortified foods and some prescription supplements, is significantly less potent and effective at sustaining healthy levels.
Yes, and what's truly fascinating here is how this seemingly simple nutrient, when correctly supplemented with its essential cofactors, plays such a pivotal integrated role in overall vitality. Not just targeted symptom relief, it's a profound testament to the body's complex interdependencies where individual components work in concert. Without these cofactors, the vitamin D is essentially inert or much less effective.
It truly underscores that interplay. And to maximize absorption, Robert learned to take his vitamin D with a meal containing healthy fats, such as avocado, olive oil, nuts, or fatty fish. Since vitamin D is fat-soluble, consuming it with healthy fats significantly improves its uptake by the digestive system, allowing your body to actually utilize the supplement you're taking. But perhaps most importantly, he discovered the absolutely crucial role of cofactors. Vitamin D works synergistically with other nutrients, and without them, its effectiveness is severely hampered. Magnesium, for instance, is absolutely essential for converting vitamin D into its active form in both the liver and kidneys. Without adequate magnesium, taking high doses of vitamin D is like trying to start a car without a key. It simply won't work effectively, leading to continued deficiency symptoms despite supplementation. Other vital cofactors include vitamin K2, which is critical for bone health because it helps direct calcium into the bones and teeth, preventing its buildup in soft tissues like arteries where it can cause calcification. And while calcium itself is important for bones, it's crucial to ensure its balance with D3 and K2 to prevent issues. It's an orchestra of nutrients, not a solo act. The more Robert learned about vitamin D, the more he realized how this simple, often overlooked nutrient affects virtually every aspect of health and aging. We're talking about its profound impact on immune function, fortifying his body against illness, its role in cardiovascular health, contributing to better blood pressure regulation, its influence on brain function, enhancing his cognitive clarity and mood, and its direct correlation with muscle strength and balance, reducing his risk of falls. This broadened, holistic understanding explained why his transformation had been so dramatic and comprehensive. It wasn't just his joint pain that improved. It was his entire sense of vitality, resilience, and well-being that was dramatically restored. And the long-term results were truly remarkable. Within 6 months of diligently optimizing his vitamin D status, Robert's bone density scan showed significant improvement, indicating stronger, healthier bones. His inflammatory markers, like C-reactive protein, had normalized, signaling a reduction in systemic inflammation. His energy levels were higher than they'd been in decades, and most importantly, he had fully reclaimed his independence and his joy in movement. He was living, thriving proof of what's possible when you give your body the tools it needs to heal. Robert's story, as you've heard in such vivid detail, is not unique. It's not an outlier or a rare medical miracle. Instead, it's a powerful, illustrative example of what's possible for millions of people when someone discovers the truth about vitamin D deficiency and takes informed, decisive action to correct it. And the same transformative power, the same potential for pain-free living and renewed vitality is absolutely available to you. The tragedy, as our sources so starkly highlight, is that millions of seniors are walking around right now with easily correctable vitamin D deficiency, suffering from chronic joint pain, debilitating muscle weakness, crushing fatigue, and severely reduced mobility that they've been repeatedly told is just part of getting older.
And that phrase, part of getting older, so often becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, doesn't it? A convenient and accepted explanation that tragically obscures clear, scientifically supported pathways to genuine improvement and a higher quality of life. It creates a narrative of surrender rather than one of empowerment.
It's a narrative you absolutely do not have to accept. You don't have to wait for the glacial pace of the medical establishment to catch up to decades of compelling science. And you certainly don't have to accept chronic pain as your inevitable, unchanging fate. The power to transform your health and reclaim your mobility, your energy, and your joy is quite literally within your reach, waiting for you to take informed action. Think about what your life would truly look like if you could walk without pain again, if you could climb a flight of stairs effortlessly, if you could actively play with your grandchildren on the floor, if you could travel the world without worrying about mobility limitations, if you could finally sleep through the night without being woken up by aching joints, or wake up feeling refreshed and invigorated. These aren't impossible dreams. Our sources tell us they are realistic possibilities for countless individuals if you're willing to explore whether vitamin D deficiency might be contributing to your pain and mobility problems. So what are the concrete, actionable next steps you can take today, inspired by Robert's journey and backed by the science? First, and crucially, get properly tested. Don't settle for the basic, often inadequate vitamin D test that many doctors order. You need to specifically insist on the 25-hydroxyvitamin D test, or 25-OHD. This is the comprehensive test that actually measures your body's vital vitamin D stores, giving you an accurate picture of your long-term status, not just what's circulating temporarily. Second, don't accept normal as good enough. As our sources have clearly articulated, normal on a lab report might just mean you're not acutely ill, but doesn't mean you're optimally healthy. For pain management, inflammation reduction, and overall vitality, our sources recommend you aim for optimal levels between 40-60 ng/ml. This range is supported by leading researchers as the sweet spot for maximum health benefits. Third, be aware of your doctor's limitations when it comes to therapeutic doses. Due to their conventional training and maybe liability concerns, most physicians are trained to prescribe minimal amounts to avoid deficiency diseases, not necessarily the optimal therapeutic amounts needed for pain-free living and vibrant health. So, you might need to consider working with a functional medicine practitioner, a naturopathic doctor, or another holistic healthcare provider who truly understands the therapeutic use of vitamin D for pain management and overall wellness. Or, you may need to educate yourself thoroughly and take direct responsibility for optimizing your own vitamin D status. The good news is that vitamin D3 is safe, inexpensive, and widely available without a prescription. While it may take several months to fully correct a significant deficiency and see maximum benefits, many people notice tangible improvements in energy, mood, and overall well-being within just a few weeks of starting proper supplementation, just like Robert did. Fourth, remember those crucial cofactors. Always take your vitamin D3 supplement with a meal containing healthy fats for optimal absorption. And remember to pair it with magnesium and vitamin K2 for optimal absorption and utilization. Those cofactors are absolutely essential for D3 to function properly in your body. Magnesium activates it, and K2 ensures calcium goes where it's needed, into your bones. Fifth, plan to retest your levels. Have your 25-hydroxyvitamin D levels retested after about 3 months of consistent supplementation to ensure you're on the right track and to adjust your dosage if needed to reach that optimal 40-60 ng/ml range. And finally, be patient. Be patient as your body heals and rebuilds the tissues that may have been damaged by chronic inflammation and nutrient deficiency. Healing takes time, but the consistent effort yields profound, lasting results.
This brings up an important, overarching question for all of us, really. In a world inundated with information and remarkable medical advancements, how do we discern which simple, fundamental truths about our health are being overlooked or overshadowed? And what responsibility do we bear as individuals in seeking out and acting upon these crucial insights for ourselves? Your future self, your vibrant, mobile, pain-free self, is depending on the decision you make today. Will you continue to accept chronic pain as an inevitable and irreversible part of aging? Or will you take control of your health and actively explore whether vitamin D deficiency might truly be robbing you of the pain-free, active, and joyful lifestyle you absolutely deserve?
The choice ultimately is yours, but the time to act on this profound knowledge is now. The secret to pain-free walking, to vibrant energy, to a truly engaged life after 70 might genuinely be as simple as giving your body the essential nutrients it needs to heal, rebuild, and thrive. Your joints, your muscles, your bones, your immune system, your mood, and your overall quality of life are all depending on the informed action you choose to take today. So stop making excuses, stop accepting limitations, and start taking control of your health destiny by exploring the incredible healing and transformative power of optimal vitamin D nutrition.